Hey guys, welcome back. In this particular session, we will be discussing about testRecorder in Studio. So currently, as you can see, I am referring to the docs.mulesoft.com, and this is the 2.3 version. And with 7.5 onwards, there is a facility which is being provided within the studio. Like we can record all the testing use cases, or you can say it's like it allows basically to record a processing flow, and you can then configure a unit test based on the captured event. So it will capture the real data as it goes through your application in AnypointStudio, and there are some primary requirements for that. You need to have Studio 7.5 and onwards. mUnit should be 2 to 5. mUnit AnypointStudio plugin is 250 or higher, and the runtime should be 430, which is the latest one, and it will support all the future releases of Mule runtime. But there are some problem with this test recorder which are being counted as the limitations. So it is not that successful for creating the test for the flows with Mule errors raised inside the flow or already existing in the incoming event, not even if they are handled by the on error continue error handler. So we will be covering this particular part for sure. A recorded flow execution ends successfully, but the result doesn't reach its destination, so the application is killed in between. Then it is not going to capture the mUnit test case. Your validation fail every time your test runs if you configure spy or set processors to set values for random data, time dependent, because with every time changes, it will look for the same set of mock data which will fail the result. So that is something you need to take care while dealing with the timestamp based mock values. Mocking value resulting from the parallel processes causes a mixture of real and mock data, and which can mess up your test case. And although the recorder supports the data iteration in the flow, but it doesn't support the cases in which the structure of data being tested changes inside the iteration. So let's suppose within the for each it may error out, or within parallel processing it is not going to work that smoothly. So this is just a functionality which is not I must say fully developed. Maybe we can expect some more uh, updates or improvements as we go with the further updates in the Mule runtime plus this mUnit plugins. So I'm positive on that, but let's start with one of the sample in order to understand the recording of these test cases. So this is my AnypointStudio. Okay, so unnecessarily I have created such uh, mammoth. It is not really required, so let me delete it quickly. I am going to delete this one as well. So this is quite simple and straightforward flow. There will be a listener, and this is a domain project, but it doesn't matter. You can have the normal HTTP listener as well. After that, we are going to log it. I'm going to pass some account ID. I'm going into the database and trying to pull up the value which I am passing through the query param. And just to give you an example, I'm having these training accounts in which if I check for account ID equal to 100, I am having this particular record available. So let me run it again. So this is the record available. And after that, what I'm doing, I'm just printing the payload as it is. But instead of going for that, I will place a transform message again, and output should be JSON, and whatever the payload you are going to create out of it. So let's try to run this piece of code. I will stop this execution, clear the console, and run it again. In the meanwhile, I can go to Postman and we'll change some of the values. Okay, so this is deployed. Let me clear up the console and we'll hit it from here. So this is the 100 and this is what I have configured. So if I put something different, it will give me the real case value. Okay, so this is pretty much fine. So now coming to the part of test recording. Okay, so for that, just click on this mUnit sample flow, right click on it, go for mUnit, and you can see two different options. So we are going for record test for this flow. I'm going to click on it. You can see in the bottom launching test recording 56% and it is loading. So now couple of things, our application is showing as deployed, so it is ready to take up the payload, and there is this test recorder which is waiting for input data, and it gives the option of cancel or disable configure test. So Mule application is now running and waiting for the flow execution to start, and flow execution will start only when it receives some input data. So let me go over there and put up this particular account ID as 100. I will click on send button. So it has input recorded at this particular timestamp. I will click on configure test. So this will be the name of your the file name or the mUnit file name, in which you can have the multiple test cases. You can rename it as sample test record, and I will go for next. Now try to understand a couple of things. This is our mule config project. After that, this is the flow name. Within the flow, it is taking as binary 64 and rest of the things like query param and query string account ID 100. This is our request URI path. This is the listener and the relative path, and the basic details. Okay, request path and IP addresses and the remote path 59135. This is being used for mUnit purpose. Now in the next, we are just logging the payload, and this is the select database query. So I want to mock this processor so that every time it should give me this result only. I don't want to hit every time because it may or may not, our database may be down at the time of testing. So I don't want to take that risk. Similarly, transform message is okay and we don't want to mock this. So no action is required, and simply this logger, I will click on next. It is again creating a summary out of it, and I will click on finish. So you can see a automated mUnit test record suite is being created, and mock select here it refers doc ID as some this particular number. So let's try to understand what exactly is this. This is available for DB select, that is we have mocked this DB select query, right? So it is pointing to that with the payload being read from this mock payload DWL. So in order to read it, we have to go src main resources, sorry, test resources, and inside this folder mock payload DWL, I will double click and open it. So this is the sample which we have just executed from our Postman. Okay, and this doc ID you can also refer within the main flow. If I go to the config and if I select this DB select, it is starting with D3199, D3199. Just remember this one, and this is the same document ID. You can change the name of this attribute as well, but for the time being, let's go with the default. After that, the next is this setting up the input. So it is taking the value from this set event payload DDL. So let's try to open this. So this is taking the same, and after that it is going to call this mUnit sample flow, that is nothing but this particular flow, and after that it is going to assert the payload. And what it is going to do, it is going to put the payload attributes and the variables if it is being used anywhere, and it will try to compare the payload. If it doesn't match it will throw some error, something like that. Okay, so I will close rest of the tabs. Okay, I will check up the console once again. I will clear it up, and I will go to this src test mUnit. I'm going to right click and mUnit run tests. So it will take couple of seconds to load. So now you can see the test case has been executed all in green. So it's a positive, and after that it has completed its entire execution. And if you go to the mUnit coverage, you can see 100% coverage, and somehow this time this report is also getting generated. So it is reading out all the details, like 4 processes are being referred at 100% coverage. So that was the positive scenario, and uh, you can see all these green ticks showing like the test execution is being covered through all the possible tasks. So what now I am going to do, I want to create one more test case. So in order to test it, let's first run this in the normal manner. So I will close this mUnit. This is a normal flow, like normal testing as we do. I want to manipulate with this if we are sending some uh, raw or garbage data, so something like this which is not existing. So this is being deployed. Let me clear it up, and I will click on send button. So still you will be able to see like 100 is being copied. This is because this is being still mocked, so that's why it is still running the same thing. But there was one more point which I want to raise, like even if it errors out, so let's do something like this. Okay, let's see. So this time it went to the positive scenario, it simply flow through it, but ideally it should give us an error, right? So what I will do now, I will simply raise some error. Okay, so there is a way to write this custom underscore error if I am not wrong, and this is intentionally I am creating error, that's it. And let's try to put some error on propagate. I will simply configure the default setting. Okay, and simply I will put a logger, nothing extra, and I'm going to print error dot detail description, right? So let's now try to run this guy again. So let's try to stop this and create one more test case record for it. Let's see if it goes forcefully being sent to the error on propagate, then how it responds back. So now it is waiting for the input data. Let's quickly go to the Postman, and I will go with the same. Let's see, account ID equals to something something. Click on send button. Go back over here. So here it shows found a mule error, custom error. The test recorder cannot create test on flows that have mule errors because it is being explicitly being raised using this raise error, and it jumped out of it onto this particular on error propagate, and it says it doesn't support. So the main intention of putting this use case was just to show like this test recorder is still in the very um, primary stage, but I want this to be more robust, and I'm waiting for some more stable releases related to this test recording feature, and pretty much optimistic about it. And I hope you like this video, and thanks for watching. Thank you.